It's that time of year once again, everyone. Time for the second annual Mario Month. And also, it's time for people to, once again, for about 4 weeks, wonder why I'm not doing this in March instead. The new Super Mario Bros. Series is one of the most interesting in the Plumbers franchise. These are platformers that feature Mario here. They should be more important. Instead, the games are just here, and no one really cares about them anymore. That's kind of weird.
Ah, hey y'all, Scott here, and I see you're talking about the new Super Mario Bros. Series as well, huh? Haven't seen that before.
Scott? What's up? Yeah, you did just do a new Super Mario Bros. Video recently, but really, that's just a coincidence that I'm doing one as well. Just because both of our videos will inevitably be kinda similar, doesn't make one any less good than the other. That just means both of them will be good for different reasons. That makes sense, right?
Ha! That's what they all say. And wait, are you implying that this segment is an analogy for the new Super Mario Bros. Series itself, and by the end of this video, people will be sick of us too?
That wasn't necessarily the point I was trying to make. You don't think that's actually gonna happen, do you?
Probably not.
Okay, good. Whew. I was getting a little worried for a second. New Super Mario Bros. This was unleashed onto the world over 10 years ago. And boy, I wonder if Nintendo finally regrets calling this series that. The story of this first game goes by real quick. Blink and you'll there it is. Back when this game first came out, it was legitimately kind of a big deal. The previous 2D Mario game on a portable was Super Mario Land 2 14 years prior. The side-scrolling platformer front was covered by Donkey Kong, Wario, and Kirby, the boy, since then. Making a bunch of classic-styled games also wasn't that common back then. If anything, games like this and I would say Contra 4 really showed the gaming world that it is possible to make titles that harken back to previous entries, and we didn't always need something brand spanking new. Mega Man 9 being a great example. The new Bubsy being a terrible example. Maybe I'm giving the game a little bit too much credit. This is purely speculation on my end. It just kind of makes sense to me given the game's success at the time. As a result, new Super Mario Bros. DS must have been some groundbreaking, never-before-seen stuff, right? Not really, no. The title of the game is pretty on the nose. It's a new Super Mario Bros. Game, alright. You run and you jump through a ton of platforming challenges, you collect as many coins as you care to, and you save the girl at the end. What is new though is how Mario controls, essentially being a 2D version of his 3D self, with the likes of the triple jump, ground pound, wall jump, etc, etc. And it controls really nice. That's the thing, man, these 2D Mario games really nail the simple fun of simply running around. It's also pretty satisfying finding these 3 star coins placed throughout each level. Again, it's not really any groundbreaking stuff, but it's fun, so that's good. The power-ups, on the other hand, not that great. The Mega Mushroom was one of the main aspects about this game, and it's purely a gimmick. Each section it's in kind of feels the same, and it's not really as gratifying as I'm assuming Nintendo had hoped for. And then there's the Mini Mushroom, which just makes you 5 pixels tall. It does offer some interesting challenges, since it is required to unlock 2 of the game's worlds. And lastly, there's the blue shell, and boy, this thing sucks. After running for a second, you just automatically go into your shell, and it's not... No. These don't ruin the game, of course. You spend far more time with the standard mushroom or the fire flower, so it works out fine. It's just not that good of a lineup of new powers, which is more of a shame because a few of these return in later entries. And that Mega Mushroom is also forever tainted because it is the main selling point of one of the worst Mario games of all time. Awesome stuff! To be honest, what's most admirable about this game as a whole are the original bosses. My god, imagine giving a game this much praise for having original bosses. More on that later. You are constantly chasing Bowser Jr. throughout the adventure, but at the end of most of the castles, a boss featuring a new or returning foe is there to try and stop you. And I really like this. Not like the bosses are difficult or anything like that, but I've always liked the idea of taking a series staple enemy and spicing them up to make them more powerful, aka Yoshi's Island. The towers, on the other hand, all have Bowser Jr. himself as a boss, and since we're based on nostalgia here, naturally the first big boss is against Bowser, basically exactly as he was in the first Super Mario Bros., just with one slightly major difference. Bowser dies. Yep, that totally happens. Mario that's Mario killing Bowser. Dry Bones are undead Koopas, this is Dry Bowser, therefore, Mario killed Bowser. I would feel worse about the guy, but he would still go on to have a pretty successful Olympic career, so you know what, props to him despite being dead. New Super Mario Bros. DS is just okay. I still really enjoy playing it, but it's as basic as you can get nowadays. The game certainly looks nice, it has a standard bubbly Mario soundtrack, and there's also a bunch of mini-games that come from Super Mario 64 DS, and these are they are really fun, especially the Luigi-based ones. I'm pretty sure I've obtained some sort of gambling addiction because of these. So yeah, good game. And then they made it again. Once you know how one of these games play, you kinda know how the rest of them work too. You got a couple of new powers in this one, like there's the propeller suit, the ice flower, and the penguin suit, which is just like the ice flower mixed with the frog suit. It's not really that good. It's a better roundup. I mean, to be fair, you can't really get much worse than the blue shell. Yoshi finally returns, always a nice touch, although you can't bring him with you outside of the levels that you find him in, which is very weird, but okay. And then instead of the original bosses of before, the Koopalings return. And sure, now we are more than sick of seeing them, but this was the first time they made an appearance in years, so at the time, it was really cool actually. In terms of the core game though, it is practically exactly the same as the last one. It just looks and sounds nicer since it is now on the Wii rather than the DS. The big selling point for the jump onto console was the addition of co-op. And I'll keep this as simple as I can. 2 players is fine, 4 players is an outright disaster. Just don't do it. And the series staple unoriginality plagues this feature as well. Why select any of the Mario universe's endless foray of characters to join Luigi and Red Luigi? Nah, how about a generic blue and yellow Toad? Although oddly enough, it turns out that these two actually do have proper names. According to the dev team, these two have been given the nicknames Buckenberry and A La Gold. And I demand that they now be called this until the end of time. At the end of the day, I do still enjoy Nisimbwe. It's honestly probably my favorite of the entire series. It doesn't try anything that new, despite the name of the game, but what it does do, it does well enough. Super similar to the DS game, but it kinda gets a free pass for being on a console this time around. And then this is where things get a little bit interesting. In the same year, Nintendo revealed a new Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS, which is a direct sequel to the DS game, which I guess that means the Wii game isn't a direct sequel, but they also revealed a new Super Mario Bros. U, which technically I guess isn't a direct sequel to anything, but it's also a launch title for the Wii U, but it's supposed to be totally different than the game that's releasing on the 3DS only a couple months earlier. You can see where the problems are starting to arise. After talking about the last 2 games, there really isn't much to say about Nisimb 2. I was hoping it would be more of a proper reboot to the NES Super Mario Bros. 2, but no, it's just more of the same game. The gimmick this time around though comes in thousands and thousands of coins. Not only are there more coins than ever sprawled across all of the levels, there are extra powers that pop up throughout that toss even more at you. There's no story context for this happening, nor is there any real incentive to go for a high score. They're fun to collect, that's about it. Oh, you know what? Scratch that. That's not entirely true. You do get a new title screen for collecting 1,000,000. Please don't do that. Really now, aside from that, there is the returning raccoon suit, which is always nice, as well as Reznor, making for a nice Mario World throwback. But that's it. And that's not a whole lot to say about this game. There's nothing else going for it. It's still a fun time. Once again, it's not a bad game. There's just nothing about it that makes it stand out. Like, I guess they thought that a brand new, giant, freaky looking Boo would help make this game unique, but it's just another auto-scrolling hazard. Thrilling. The coin rush mode is kinda where the game shines. This is a score attack mode to get the most coins possible in a limited time across a few stages, with quite a few stage packs being available as DLC. I enjoy this mode quite a bit, but it's a side mode. The main game is still as standard as they come. And please, let me reiterate, no matter how much you may or may not be tempted to go for 1,000,000 coins, don't do it. I'm willing to bet my life that a new title screen is not worth all the pain. 3 games in so far, and each one looks and sounds practically the same, just aside from the console they're presented on. And that's where Nintendo U comes in. The Wii U. What a time that was. Nintendo did promise that the console would launch with a Mario game in tow, and I mean, they weren't wrong. The story is actually somewhat different this time around. The last 3 games all had the same idea: Peach gets kidnapped. Here, the entire castle gets kidnapped. I would say that's original, but Bowser's done this before. Twice. But that is where any sort of originality kinda stops. The adventure now takes place on a large interconnected world, a la Super Mario World. But honestly, this idea totally falls flat. Dinosaur Land was really cool, not just because it was interconnected, but because each area naturally transitioned into the next one. It did a good job making you feel like you were exploring an island that sort of felt real. Like the levels that you jumped into matched your location on the map, basically at all times. Here, it's the same generic worlds that the previous game had, just copy and pasted on top of each other. Once you get past that though, yeah, this is definitely a new Super Mario Bros. Game, alright. The level themes look slightly different, the music sounds slightly different, but it's the same game as before. Plus the flying squirrel suit, which admittedly is a pretty great flying power, and the returning baby Yoshis, which these you can take with you outside of the level you find them in. You still can't do that with the grown-up Yoshis. I don't really understand that one. How the baby Yoshis look is about how I feel when playing this game. Now yes, there is that one level that looks like a painting, probably the best level in the game. And yes, I also agree that the entire game should have had a style similar to this. How this was restricted to just one level is baffling to me. And the Koopalings show up once again, just in case you were hoping that this would at least be somewhat different. No? I know that some people do really like this game, but it's honestly my least favorite. This is the 4th time I'm gonna say this, but this is a good game. It's just so underwhelming that I can't bring myself to play it anymore. There is at least a challenge mode, which is pretty fun to mess around with. But like the coin rush mode from Nintendo 2, it doesn't make the main game any more interesting. The same can be said for the new boost mode too. An interesting idea to get the touchscreen of the gamepad in the mix, but I don't know, I always felt like this was the definition of forced. Anything to make that gamepad feel more worthwhile at the launch, I guess. Luckily, Luigi is here to save the day. Released as DLC, as well as a standalone game, New Super Luigi U takes the original game and redoes all of the levels to make them harder, with a 100-second time limit, as well as the floaty jump that Green Mario is typically known for. Each of the stages also has a hidden image of Luigi within them, making the game not only much more challenging, but also a bit more satisfying if you can find the hidden Luigi. Some of them are just so hidden, you really gotta go out of your way and look hard to find them. Long live the year of Luigi. Nabbit is also playable now alongside Buckenberry and Ala Gold, and I like this a lot. Nabbit was a neat character in the original game. He was a bit of a distraction that you can chase every now and then. It kept you from the monotony of the main game. So yeah, I approve of this. He is essentially an easy mode for whoever is stuck with him, but it's still pretty cool nonetheless. And yeah, that kinda covers the new Super Mario Bros. Series. A group of games that did start off pretty strong, but the lack of innovation led to games that aren't bad once again, but man, they're bland. Look at the Kirby games, for example. The latest 4 main games are very similar, yes, but they all have their own images and unique selling points. These games don't. Aside from the consoles that you play them on, All 4 games are so identical that it is crazy to me that Nintendo never thought to change things up before it was too late. Honestly, like, the most interesting tidbit about the entire series is that each game has a different colored box. At this point, I enjoy the levels that are New Super Mario Bros. Themed in Mario Maker instead. At least there you have no idea what to expect. The fans can do whatever the hell they want, and I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And even the mobile game Super Mario Run may as well be a part of the series too. It looks and sounds just like the other ones, it's just an auto runner this time. But to be fair, it doesn't really try to be something that it isn't, and it makes for a fun time. I actually really like this game quite a bit, and I still pull it up from time to time. It kinda goes without saying at this point, but in my opinion at least, this series doesn't come close to the original platformers that made this plumber famous to begin with. But where Nintendo falters, that is where the fans thrive. You've seen the title of the video, you know how I like to roll on this channel. Yes indeed, New Super Mario Bros. Has some hacks as well. While definitely early in development, yes, both New Super Mario Bros. 2 and U are possible to be hacked. They mainly now just boil down to some level design modifications at the moment, but it's still neat that it's there. There's a potential exciting future in these, that's for sure, you better keep your eye out. DS and Wii, on the other hand, also have that, but there is so much more variety, as these are currently far easier to work with. Let me see, for example here, how about this? New Super Minecraft Bros. It's Mario playing in a Minecraft world. Why not? Exploring the underground of a Minecraft cave. You know what, this is actually kinda cool, I'm not gonna lie. Or you got something like New Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, a pretty solid level hack of the DS game. The Wii has a ton of these as well. Here is Super Luigi Wii Dark Moon. This one is a pretty simple level pack with a darker theme that stars Luigi. It's a pretty good time. Here is New Super Mario Sunshine, a graphic hack to give Mario his Shine Sprite outfit while you go against a bunch of Shadow Marios instead of the Koopalings. There's even one where you get to play as Sonic. Oh my god, I don't know how to feel about this one. You do enough exploring and you will find a ton of character model swaps out there. But my favorite one is probably New Super Mario Bros. 64, which gives all of the main characters a classic blocky aesthetic, which is just super neat. Oh, I don't know about this one. Something about this just seems off. But now it's time to talk about the big boys, the main reason I wanted to do this video in the first place. Newer Super Mario Bros. Wii. Oh boy, this is a full-on modification of the entire original game. The whole thing. Level themes, new. Music, new. Boss fights, new. Level designs, fantastic. The Hammer Bros suit even shows up. That wasn't in the original game. That's awesome. I don't know how they did this part, but the overworld map is entirely new as well. And it's all interconnected. That's again something that the original didn't do, and it does it way better than how the official Wii U game did it. Man, this is hardly even recognizable to the game that this is a mod of. The adventure is long too. Going for 100% is gonna take you roughly 6 to 7 hours. This is honestly a massive achievement for those at the newer team. And if you wanted even more newer goodness on top of that, there are some extra mini adventures as well. Summer Sun is a short romp that goes through a bunch of levels that have a more sunny aesthetic, while Holiday Special is similar but has a snowy aesthetic. While I wouldn't go as far as to say that the newer games are some of my favorite 2D platformers or anything like that, I would say that I enjoyed these more than the official games that we got, and at the very least, they do have a stronger form of identity. And just when you thought I was done, no, we were also graced with newer Super Mario Bros. DS. Another full-on hack that is arguably more enjoyable than the original adventure as well. New themes, new music, great level design, the same still applies here. The bosses, on the other hand, are still the same. But I guess there's only so much you can do for the DS. Okay, you know what? I take that back. There's minecart segments too? What? And I'm not gonna spoil it, but the final boss is actually entirely new as well, and it was really awesome to discover that firsthand. The only main problem here is the game may be slightly too ambitious. The frame rate slows down quite often. That's kinda crazy. If you guys out there ever get the chance to, I highly recommend looking into the newer Super Mario Bros. Games. Whether you're sour on the NSMB series or not, they are all great times. And just spend some time looking for other mods for these games as well. The community just seems to be growing steadily over time, so guaranteed we're gonna see more and more cool stuff as time goes on. Which is kind of ironic because I don't think I want to see another new Super Mario Bros. Game ever again. The new Super Mario Bros. Series will kinda live on in infamy. Unless they do something radically different next time, I think we're good. Mario Maker has our new Super Mario Bros. Desires in check for years to come. I think we're good there. That and the fan-made hacks. Those are really fun as well. And speaking of those hacks, playing those recently got me in the mood to play some more classic ROM hacks, so I guess I'll be doing that next time. Stay tuned for that. And also, just play the new Donkey Kong Country games instead, like Returns and Tropical Freeze did all this new stuff with the camera and mechanics. Meanwhile, Nintendo's over here doing Mario the same way they've been doing it since the dawn of time. Tropical Freeze is now available on Nintendo Switch.